Welcome to the 7th session of Sri Hanuman Chalisa. Let us start with the gratitude to the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible, and the Guru Shishya Parampara, through which this knowledge is preserved and passed on from generations. I would pay my respects to our Pujya Guruma, the Guruji, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share my understanding with you. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Narvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This entire series is mainly taken from the book by Sri Pawan Kumar Mishra. This book is called Living Hanuman, A Journey from Selfie to the Self. The main purpose of Hanuman Chalisa is, we will be describing in a short while, consists of 40 chaupais, and that's why it is called Chalisa, and it also consists of 3 dohas. The first and the second in the beginning, and the third doha after the end of the 40 chaupais. The main goal of Hanuman Chalisa is to become one with the universal consciousness, and that is the essence of the Indian scriptures, of the Vedas and the Upanishads, that the individual consciousness should merge with the universal, eternal, divine consciousness. And that itself is called moksha, or freedom from all the worldly afflictions, miseries, pains, the cycle of birth and death. And there are many ways to reach this goal. These are called the sadhanas. One is karma, one is bhakti, one is dhyana. There are several ashtanga yoga, several sadhanas, but ultimately it is the jnana, the knowledge of the self, which will liberate us and give us the moksha, or the freedom. And this journey of our life, which we also called as a spiritual journey, is in which we have to take ownership of our own self, our own efforts, our own progress. Yes, the grace of the Guru and the grace of the Lord helps us in this journey, but most of the efforts and the attempts have to be done by the individual, which in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Buddhare Atmanatmanam Atmanam na mavasadayet. So in the outer world, which is the worldly world where we do and perform all our activities, and the inner journey, the spiritual activities, gradually we have to merge both these activities into one and use the spiritual knowledge, understanding that we develop or get from this marga, from this journey, from the scriptures, so that we can improve our life, we can improve our karma, we can improve our sanskaras, we can improve, take out our asuri vrittis and get more of daivi sampattis, or the virtues, and remove the vices. So this is the entire sadhana that we all need to do. And Hanuman Chalisa helps us in this sadhana by achieving a balance between the spiritual journey and the worldly journey, and the balance between the virtues and the vices, and the balance of our mind. So it is essentially meant for the seeker who is on the path of ascent towards the self-realization, who is awake about regarding the human values, the sattva guna, like love, compassion, santosha, contentment, gratitude and joy. The structure of Sri Hanuman Chalisa, the first 2 dohas tell us the purpose of the Chalisa. We need a clean mind, antakarana shuddhi, to understand this jnana and ultimately to achieve moksha. The first 8 shlokas talk about the qualities of Sri Hanuman, Bala, Buddhi, Vidya. All these are the qualities of Sri Hanuman. And then the deeds of Sri Hanuman, 9 to 11 shloka talks about his deeds, what he has done. He got Sanjeevani Jadi Booty for Lakhana. He went across the ocean to search for Sitaji. So all these, and then the praises that Sri Rama showered on his beloved Sri Hanuman, saying that he is almost like a brother to him, a half brother to Lord Ram. And then the 16 to 21st shlokas describe the other deeds of Sri Hanuman when he goes and burns the Lanka with his burning tail, and all the other deeds, and the Sugriv and the Vibhishana and all the other deeds of Sri Hanuman. And from 22 to 39 shloka, which we are going to talk about today, the benefits of the Falashruti of the worshipping of Sri Hanuman are given, and the finally 40th shloka in the third doha tells us the boon that Sri Hanuman resides in the heart of the devotees, and how we can feel one with Sri Hanuman and understand the oneness of this entire cosmic cosmos. So let's start with the 29th shloka. चारों जुग परताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा. So in this shloka it says Hanuman is always there. He is eternal. His presence is always there. We can feel that presence. And it is said that there are some Sapta Chiranjeevi who are always eternally present on this cosmos, and Hanuman is one of them. So he should be considered like a living entity rather than a past entity. And Hai Parasiddha Jagata Ujiyara means this universe is illuminated by his light, and he is not just illuminating himself, but he illuminates the entire universe. He is a consciousness, Hanuman. So that is what this shloka tells us. So Hanumana is eternal. He pervades the time and the space. And Charo Juga means the four yugas. We can talk about the Satya Yuga, the Treta, the Dwapara and the Kali Yuga. So that gives us the paradigm of the time. And on this, the Jagata Ujiyara, the universe, the space, it gives us a paradigm of the space. But the space paradigm and the time paradigm are the continuum paradigm, and space can be considered as the canvas. It is an eternal, unchanging canvas on which the time keeps on changing constantly. It can be likened to a painting which is done on the canvas, or it can be likened to the clouds which keep on moving in the sky. So there is a continuum, a substratum, adhisthana, on which there are adhyastha. Everything keeps moving, and that is how we can explain this, our spirituality. And Hanuman represents the seamless one paradigm of the universal consciousness, which encompasses all the space and the time paradigms of our universe. The Yug and the Mahayug, how long are they and what are the timings? It is thought that one Mahayuga means 8.2 billion years. And our Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam has accurately predicted what is the age of this, our earth and the sun. And it says that this planet came into existence about 13.8 billion years ago. The sun came into existence 8.6 billion years ago, and earth about 8.5 billion years ago. And it also measures the Brahmaji's day. One day is almost equal to 4.3 billion years, and Brahmaji's night, one night is close equivalent to 4.3 billion years. So total one Yuga or Mahayuga is almost 8.6 billion years, and that is similar to what our science predicts and what our scriptures have predicted, that this is a Mahayuga, almost 8.2 billion years, and that is the prediction. So Hanumana pervades in the space and the time of all these four yugas. In the Kali, he presents as guardian, protector. In Dwapara as Kapidwaja. In Treta, he is the Ramaduta, and in the Satyuga, he was the Agni, the fire. So these are the resemblances, and in all these four yugas, he is present as the breath, the Pavara Kumara, as the essence of consciousness, as the living entity in all these four yugas. On an individual level, if you want to see, the four yugas can be considered as four ashramas. For an individual, we had in our Vedic Parampara, there were four ashramas through which all the four stages of life, Brahmacharya ashrama, Grihastha ashrama, Vanprastha ashrama and Sannyasa ashrama. So Brahmacharya ashrama is the first 25 years, because at that time the lifespan was about 100 years. Currently the lifespan is about 70-80 years, and that's why we can consider 20 years for each ashrama, but at that time it was about 25 years for one ashrama. Brahmacharya ashrama is mainly devoted for learning Gnana. As a child, they used to go to the ashrama, the Gurukul, They used to learn there all the scriptures, all the skills, सब तरह की कला उनको सिखाई जाती है. Even warfare used to be taught to them. So all these they used to learn in the first 20-25 years. Then the Grahastha Ashrama, where ultimately it is a karma pradhan, where we do a lot of activities to earn artha, kama, to fulfill our desires. And this all is done through the dharma marga, because they have learned the dharma in the brahmacharya ashrama. What is dharma, what is adharma, and that's why whatever they earn, whatever they do, everything is done according to dharma. So dharma, artha, kama and moksha, these were the four purusharthas. Then the third 25 years or 20 years is the vanprastha ashrama, where one has to start winding up what we have already sansara jo phailaya hai, usko wind up karna hai, which is also karma pradhan, but there must be some inculcation of bhakti, so that we soften down, dissolve our ego a little bit, we come close to the Almighty Lord. And then finally is the sannyas ashrama, where we need to do gnana nishta, the shravana, manana, nididhyasana, and with the gnana we can achieve the moksha. So this is the entire journey of the human life which has been laid down in our Vedic parampara. The four yugas or the four quadrants in today's life, today's world, can be very well conveyed by Stephen Covey, who in his book, which is highly acclaimed and a bestseller, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, gave these 4 quadrants in which we can live in a day-to-day our life, and we can make the most of it and be effective in our life and can reach our goals. So these are the quadrant 1, 2, 3 and quadrant 4. The quadrant 1 is the important and the urgent work which we have to do. It is almost like a firefighting which we have to do. The quadrant 2 is the most important quadrant, where it's an important work but it is not urgent, and that's why most of the people don't spend more time in quadrant 2. But if we start spending more time here, we can really be more effective. The quadrant 3 is the urgent work, which is not very important and which is something that we can learn to delegate to others. And quadrant 4 is nothing urgent, nothing important, but it is all the wasters, time wasters, which we need to eliminate from our life as much as possible. So Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants, we can understand it in a little bit more details to understand how we can manage our time well in our life, because everybody has the same time and it is up to us how we can utilize this time, manage this time well. It is not actually time management, but it's our self-management against the time, because time is a constant entity. We have to manage our own self in such a way that we can improve our efficiency, utilization of the time, and we can achieve and reach to our goals faster and more efficiently. So the first quadrant is the urgent and the important. It is more like a crisis management and it needs to be done. The second quadrant is the important but not urgent matters, which are more important from our goal perspective, and we should aim to increase our time in this quadrant for achieving our goals. And these are the people who are prioritizers, who use a lot of time in planning and preparation so that they can use more time about their work, the relationship building, leisure time, recreation, hobbies, self-enhancement like yoga, sports, self-study of the scriptures, retreats, nature, skill learning, new language learning, creativity, contribution to the society, environment, financial planning, preventive aspects of our health, newer opportunities, research and intimate moments with partner, and of course peaceful sleep. So these are some of the important things that we need to spend more time in the quadrant 2 in our life. And the third quadrant is the urgent but not very important. Somebody comes us and tells us, come, let's go out for a movie. Then that is something, if we don't want to go and still we have to go because a friend has invited us, that is something which is urgent but it is not important for us, and it is also something that we can avoid. And the fourth is the mindless waste of our time in front of television, mobile phones, social medias, gossiping, compulsive shopping, laziness, sleeping around, lazing around. All these we should try and avoid as much as possible, so that we have to decide how best we can use our time. And it is the idle time that we use, how we use it, that is important, what we make out of our life. That's why whatever time we have, we should use it in good reading, inspirational books which elevate us, which help us to grow, expand our horizons, our vision, our understanding, and satkarma, doing good deeds for others, helping others to achieve their goals also. And it is considered and said that now is the present moment, which is inseparable from space and time. According to modern science also, the space and time are inseparable paradigms, and we can feel the consciousness in the now. So that is very important. Even the breath we take becomes the past when we exhale it. And that's why in between the inhaled and the exhaled breath, there is a moment of awareness which we can call the now, and we can connect to our consciousness through this moment of now. If we avoid thinking of the past, we can learn and carry on, and we can avoid a lot of anxieties and stress and fears. If we avoid anxieties of the future by not thinking too much about the future, but our main goal should be to remain in the present awareness, in the constant awareness of the now. And this can be learned through accessing our breath and being aware of our breath, because that is the most constant thing that is present in the now. So and breath is the way we can connect to our mind, because as we are connected and conscious about our breath, we can relax and control our mind also. And this can be the biggest offering to Sri Hanuman. Shlok number 30. Sadhu sant ke tum rakhware, asur nikandan ram dulare. So you are the protector of the revered sadhu, santa, renunciates, saints, monks, and asura nikandan ram dulare. You destroy all the evils, all the negative hurdles, and help us transform our growth. And you are the beloved, you are Rama Dulare, you are the beloved of Sri Rama. So that is the meaning of this shloka. Now Asura Nikandana, we need to understand better, because as traditionally we understand Asura means Rakshas, and these Rakshas are not the bad guys, the terrorists or the bad, wicked, cunning people, but they are our own bad tendencies, because most of the times we realize in our life that our biggest enemies are not outside, but they are inside us. And these are these Asuri Vrittis that we know, which are called the Asura here. And these Asuri Vrittis are our constant desire, kamana, lust, krodh, anger, lobha, greed, to grab, to get as much as possible, moha, attachment to all these worldly objects, our body, our relations, our people close to us, mada, ego or our pride, and matsarya, jealousy, asuya. So all these are our asuri vrittis, and these are our real enemies. If indeed we want to overcome this, then we have to overcome these enemies by this spiritual journey, which requires constant awareness, and we have to learn the techniques how we can control this, and we can then improve on us. And these are all born out of this, they are the avidya family, born out of ignorance of our true self. And the main reason how this works is from raga dvesha, because how we get likes, strong likes, dislikes, and then these become sanskaras, and then they push us to get those sukha or dukkha, and they create this kama. And if the kama is not fulfilled, then it creates krodha. If the kama is fulfilled, then more and more kamana, desires, it becomes lobha, and then it becomes all these, whatever we possess, parigraha, it becomes attachment for us, and then this we form a kind of an ego or a pride that I am doing it, I can do it, I have done so much, and then we will also contrast ourselves with others and feel jealousy for others. So all this family comes out of these avidya and raga dvesha. We need to understand how we need to control them, and how these raga dvesha, how they live in the mind. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is very well explained how raga dveshas work by remaining in our mind and then making us do all this kama, krodha. Says they are your biggest enemies, mahashano, mahapapma, vidyenamiya vairinam. Know that they are your greatest enemies. They are not the outside enemies are not your greatest enemies, it tells Arjuna. So these impurities that are in the mind, ashuddhis, they have to be removed. And the way to remove this is to control, balance our own mind, because it is only through the mind that we have to take this out. Sanyama, moderation, balance, by the use of our intellect, our viveka shakti, our understanding that we get from the scriptures, by vairagya, by seeing this impermanent nature of this world, by not having too much of importance or mahatva buddhi in the world and all its objects and the relations, because understanding that all this is impermanent. And then Shama Adi Shat Sampatti. So Shama, Dama, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhana and Titiksha. These are important attributes for us. And finally Mumuksha. We need to have a desire to become free, desire to achieve moksha, desire to achieve this Atma Gnana. And with this, what is called as the Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, all these four, Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Adi, Shat, Sampatti and Mumuksha. With this Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, we can get rid of these Ashuddhis in our mind, and with this cleansing our mind, we can then enter into the Gnana and achieve Moksha. So these Asuri Vrittis, removing these Asuri Vrittis is the main part of our sadhana, and only after we cleanse our mind of these Asuri Vrittis, Ashuddhis and develop Antakarana Shuddhi, we can enter into the Gnana Sadhana. This cannot happen overnight. This sadhana and these changes happen very, very gradually. One has to keep on the track constantly with awareness, each moment lived with awareness, and very few people can do it because most of us are unaware of what is happening. Whatever raga dvesha we have, whatever they work very subtly, we even don't come to know how our mind has developed those kind of habits and how it responds to situations, vrittis, indriya jo. When it goes to visions or chakshu, indriya goes and gets the rupa or the form, and all these become so habitual that we don't even realize that this is something that we need to change. And this can only be done with our free will, our own volition, our own firm determination, desire to achieve a change, and of course the God's grace and the Guru Krupa helps us in this endeavor. And this requires a very long, continuous, disciplined practice with self-awareness of constant action, constant changes, and these changes happen very, very gradually, but they are perceptible. We will come to know that these changes have happened. Our mind also becomes much more peaceful when these changes happen in our life, and we will come to know that these are the benefits of this sadhana, where we get this kind of a santosha, contentment, we get this kind of a shanti, peace, inner peace, which we generally don't get without this kind of endeavor. And this mindset gradually changes, and this is the retraining of the mind, which can happen very, very slowly. In Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th Adhyaya, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, Shanaihi Shanaihi Uparamed Buddhi Dhruti Gruhitaya. Buddhya Dhruti Gruhitaya. Means this uparam of the man, withdrawing of the mind, happens very slowly. Shanaihi Shanaihi. And yato nishcharati, as and when it goes out, you have to catch hold of the mind, get it back. Atma sanstam manah krutva, you have to put it back in your Atma. So this is what Lord Krishna says in the 6th Gita Adhyaya, and this is what we have to do. And this change happens very, very slowly. For the Santa Purusha, we have to learn from these Mahapurusha how they bring out this change. They develop Sanyama, they take care of the Dharma, Samatva, dualities. In the dualities, they are very Samatva. They have a lot of tolerance, titiksha, sahanashilta, and they do this penance practice, yoga, tapa, swadhyaya, and ultimately, finally, the gnana they get, which burns all these impurities. Similarly, yogis, in the 6th Adhyaya and the 18th Adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita, it is said how mana sanyama is important, ekanta sadhana, dhyana sadhana, and reaching up to samadhi is important for the yogi. Lord Krishna says, these people are like mithyacharasa uchyate. They are all hypocrites, and similar to Duryodhana, who knew a lot of things. He knew what is dharma, what is adharma, but still he could not practice that because, and that is our experience, many things we know that we should not do it, but still we keep on doing it. And that is where the assimilation of these understanding, the scriptures in our life is also very, very important. The indriya are very, very powerful. Indriyani pramathini, it is said in the 3rd Adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita, that indriya are very powerful. They just, they're so active, alert. They go out because they are the ones, they go out and get all this gnana from this world. Chakshurendriya, Shrotrendriya, Twagendriya, Rasanendriya, Granendriya. All these 5 Gnanendriyas, they get all the objects, the knowledge, information of all the objects. They are like postmen. They get all the news from the world. And this is how we collect information from outside. And then it is processed by the mind, the mana, which does all the sankalpa, vikalpa, and it by itself is very chanchala. In the 6th Adhyaya, Arjuna asked the question to Lord Krishna, this mind is so chanchala, how can I control it? I don't know. It looks like it is more difficult than the wind. To control the wind, the mind is so strong, it is so obstinate, it is so powerful, it is so agile, it is so chanchala, it is so flickering, it is very difficult to control. So this Hanumana helps us to relieve all these asuri vrittis and incorporate or imbibe the sattvic vrittis, the sattva vritti, which consists of love, contentment, gratitude and peace. Rama Dulare. So he is a loving or beloved of the Ram, and lovingly he is called Rama Dulare. And if we remove our asuri vrittis, then of course we also can become Rama Dulare, because Ram only loves people who are sattvic, who are shuddha, who don't have any ashuddhis. So to become Rama Dulare, we have to remove all these asuri vrittis. And the Shravan of Gita ji also helps us by constant awareness to remove all these asuri vrittis. Desires and expectations are the root causes of our problems. They keep bothering us, and we have to convert these to a total acceptance. Only then we can become free from bondage. We must understand and we must realize and we must keep telling us always that we cannot change anyone else outside. No point telling others to change, because we don't have power to change others. Most of the time what happens is our life ends in trying to change others, which is most impossible. The best we can do is change ourselves, but that is also difficult, and that also requires a lot of efforts, a lot of understanding, a lot of awareness, but that is not impossible. With this, with a lot of patience, with a lot of efforts and hard work, with the courage, we can actually change ourselves completely. This is what the modern science also tells us. This is called neuroplasticity of the brain, which is the flexibility of the brain to learn new skills, adapt new skills, to learn new habits. Our mind can also be trained again. It is very chanchal. It can be made quiet, still quiet, and restless mind can be completely made restful. So these are the techniques that we need to learn so that we can change ourselves. It is not impossible, but it is definitely difficult, and that's what Lord Krishna also accepts in Bhagavad Gita when he says Asanshayam Mahabaho Manonigraha Durnigram. It is very difficult to control mind. There is no doubt. I agree, Arjuna, with you. What you are saying, you are right. Aware. So we have to be aware of our Asura Nikandana, embrace the transformation as the growth, not just as a change, but as a growth towards improvement, better. We have to elevate ourselves and rise in the love, not fall in the love. So we always have to keep elevating ourselves. Ashta Siddhi Navanidhi Ke Data Usabar Deen Janaki Mata. In the 31st shloka says Mother Sita is the giver of the boon. Usabar Deena. Bara means boon. Bara. And Janaki Mata. Janaki Mata is Sita ji, Mother Sita ji. She is called Janki, and she is also like a mother figure for Hanuman. And she is the giver of the boon of 8 siddhis and 9 nidhis to Sri Hanuman. Because when Sita ji was abandoned by Ravana, Hanumanji crossed the ocean and he found Sita ji in the garden Ashoka Vatika, and there Sita ji gave blessing to Hanuman that you will always have these 8 siddhis and 9 nidhi. And so since then Hanumanji always possesses these 8 siddhis and 9 nidhis, and he is the person who can give this, who can to his devotees also, these 8 siddhis and 9 nidhis. So Sita is like a Mata Swarupa. Hanumanji has 3 mothers. One is Anjani Putra. The second is Sita ji is also his mother, and Hanumanji has Parvati is also considered to be a mother. So Hanumanji has 3 mothers and 3 fathers. Shiva is considered to be the father of then Kesari Nandan. Kesari is the father of Hanumanji and is a Pavana Putra. So Pavana is the father of the wind god, is the father of Hanuman. So he has 3 mothers and 3 fathers. 8 siddhis that a yogi can have while he is on his path of yoga. These are the siddhis. These are some of the extra worldly characteristics that they can achieve by the yoga sadhana. which the siddhis or the Siddha Purusha or the yogis can achieve. And these 8 siddhis are Anima, Mahima, Garima, Laghima, Prapti, Prakamya, Ishitvam and Vashitvam. Now, Anima means to be very small, to become like a small Anu. Just like Hanumanji, when he reached the Ashok Vatika to look for Sitaji, he became a very small person. When he was walking in the Lanka to avoid all the guards, he became a very small Swarupa. So he had that Siddhi to become small as and when needed. Anu. So that is called Anima. And this represents that our ego should become very small. Hanumanji also did not have any ego. He was egoless, very humble. So we should also become humble. Humility is the main attribute, is the biggest treasure for us, and we should feel compassion towards the other. The second is Mahima, to become very large. As you know, Hanumanji, when his tail was burned by Ravan, he became very large, and then with this large Swarupa, he roamed around in Lanka and burned the Lanka Nagari. So this is the Mahima, the Siddhi, which Hanumanji has. So it represents for us, we should have a very large vision, we should have an open mind to learn leadership qualities and the intellect so that we can improve on our own self. Garima means to become very heavy and to become immobile, to remain grounded and to be realistic in our life. So that is what it. Laghima means to become very light, so that we don't do any major or minor. Means small little things, we don't give a very big Swarupa or Avtara and start fighting or start a war with somebody else, our loved ones, or it could be our friends, it could be anything. So Prapti means the power to obtain certain unobtainable objects, and then the purpose of this is to give to others. So it signifies giving, it signifies donation. Prakamya means to become mobile and flexible to solve problems and to change in this constantly changing world. Ishitvam is leadership, which can win the hearts of the people just like Mahatma Gandhi did. And Vashitvam means to get a power so that we can influence others to change. Say for example, somebody is violent, has a lot of anger or has bad habits, addiction, smoker, alcoholic. But with your connection, with your power, one can change those people. That is Vashitvam. So these are all the siddhis that Yogi Purush can develop. The 8 other siddhis that Hanumanji has, it is said that he has buddhi, intelligence, bala, strength, yasha, fame, dhairya, patience, nirbhayata, fearlessness, arogyata, disease-free, ajatyam, agility, flexible mind, and vakpatuktam, means he speaks very clearly, he speaks very meaningful words. When he was taken to Ravana's kingdom, when he was found in his Ashok Vatika, he had a wonderful conversation with Ravana, very clear words. Without disrespecting him, he was talking very high about Ramaji and what Ramji is. So that is the Vakpatukvam that Hanumanji has. And Patanjali in his Yoga Shastra says that these siddhis that Siddha Purush or yogis have, they are not meant for display or show off. They are not meant for any selfish or material gains, and they can become an obstacle to progress, spiritual progress, because once they get siddhi, they feel that now we have reached the goal. But actually the siddhis is not a goal, and many of the people may not be able to reach their goal because they get these siddhis. So it can be the biggest obstacle for a yogi on his path to spiritual progress. So these siddhis should only be used for helping others. They should not be used for the self-encouragement or for self-betterment. The 9 nidhis that Sitaji gave to Hanuman is luminance, patience, fame, efficiency, ability, humility, propriety, and unsurpassed valor and intellect. So all these are the 9 nidhis that Sitaji gave to Hanuman. And in today's life, while we live in the world, we also need some comforts, we need some nidhis, and these nidhis are, one is the wealth. Of course, it is important for everyone, no doubt, but money is not just the only important thing, it's not everything, but it is important. Property for security, for our desires, kingly comforts, everyone wants it, who doesn't want it? Respect, yes, everybody wants to be respected, and that's why we should give as much respect to others to get the respect. Praise, everyone needs the praise, and that's why also we need to give more praise so that we know that how much people love praise. Pleasure. Everybody runs after the pleasures, and that's why pleasure is important. Precious stones, jewelries, many people, especially women, like to adorn this on them. And beautiful and loving partner, yes, it is important for a happy life, and loving and happy family is also important for a happy life. So this is the greatest wealth. Out of all this is the love for Sri Rama. Become a devotee of the Lord, Divine Lord. That is the biggest wealth. So 32nd shloka says, Rama rasayana tumhare pasa sada raho raghupati ke dasa. So Rama rasayana tumhare pasa. So these are the two other blessings, the Rama Nama and the Bhakti, the Ramamaya, to remain with Ram. And Rama Rasa is this Rama Nama. The Bhakti or the Bhakti Rasa is the biggest Rasa. The devotees, they know this Rasa, that they are so talleen, they are all absorbed in the Lord's name all the time. They remain there with Him all the time. And this Ram Rasa we should have while we do all our current activities, our karma, so that we also do it with utmost dedication, utmost involvement, and we do our karmas in the best possible way, because we are all in karma in our activities all throughout the day, and that's why the best way to improve ourselves or go onto this path of yoga is to do karma yoga, which is the best and the most good way of enlightenment. Even in the 5th adhyaya, in the 3rd shloka, Sri Krishna says that karma yoga vishishyate, karma sannyas. He also says that karma yoga is even better than karma sannyasa for most of us, because we are all in the karma. Sada raho raghupati ke dasa. So ever be a servant of Lord Rama, who is from the Raghu dynasty, and Hanumanji is an eternal devotee of Lord Rama, and that's how he always is absorbed in the Rama Rasa or the Rama Rasayana, and it is said tumhare pasa. So this Rama Rasayana is basically, it helps us in our sadhana to Aikya, and Hanumanji is the guide, where bhakti is also very important sadhan to reach towards our goal. And pasa, Rama Rasayan tumhare pasa means it is close to the sadhaka, it is near the sadhaka. So Nama or the Bhagwan ka naam jo hai, naam smarana, that is with us. And pasha means bandhana. So this is the bandhana with the Lord we can say, or it is our bandhan with our sansara which we have to leave. And this has to be done with the yoga sadhana. And this yoga sadhana has to be done with the heart, with utmost compassion. It has to be done with the hands and the feet, with the service to the Lord, service to our Guruji, and with our mind, so that we can do japa, swadhyaya, and Ishwar pranidhan. So with this, if we do the yoga sadhana, definitely then we can reach our goal. Tumhare bhajan Ram ko pavai, janama janama ke dukha bisaravai. So this is the 33rd shloka. Tumhare bhajan Ram ko pave, janam janam ke dukha bisaravai. So your devotional songs are very dear to Lord Ram, and we all can forget the miseries of our life when we hear these devotional songs which are so dear to Lord Ram. And this means that the worship of the bhakti makes our mind much more still, peaceful, and it improves the concentration of the mind, the awareness of the mind, and the ignorance gets removed. The light of the gnana can be seen in the light of the bhakti, because the charam sima, the climax of bhakti, is to be one with the Lord, to be one with the beloved. And there, with this light, with this knowledge, all the sins, dukkha, everything is removed, and all the karma are also destroyed. That is what Bhagavad Gita also says, Jnanagni dagdha karmani. All the karmas get destroyed in the fire of the knowledge. So karma bandhan, what we feel all the time, that karma is binding us, karma by its nature binds us, because karma creates karma phala creates the sanskara, the impressions, and this again inspires us to do more and more karma, and this continues as a cycle. And this cycle is called the Sansar Chakra. This causes the bandhana. This is causing the bandhana. Of course, it is a manyata. That is what Vedanta says. This karma bandhana is not actual. It's just our belief. But it is there, and we have to understand and get rid of these. So, uska jo agar bhedan karna hai, then if you want to get over this, then our limited ahankara, our ego, has to shift gradually and it has to dissolve into the eternal consciousness. If this is going to happen by the knowing of the Atma Gnana or the self-knowledge, then only this can get dissolved. And Hanumana has this humility. He does not have any ego, he has no pride, his own individual pride or ego is merged with the Lord's in universal consciousness, and he always lives in the surrender, stays in the shelter of Rama, and that's why all his dukkha are non-existent. He doesn't have anything like dukkha. And dukkha can be of several varieties. Adi bhautika, which are in this worldly dukkha, Adi daivika, natural disasters, adhyatmika, on a spiritual mind, spiritual journey, we can have a lot of obstacles. So this can be all these dukkhas that we can have in this life. And the 4 types of karma that has been talked about, one is a sanchit karma. Sanchita karma are our already past karmas which are lying, in the dormant state. They are like arrows in the quiver, which are already there. They are with us, but they are all in the dormant state. They have not become activated. Second are the prarabdha karmas. They are like the arrow in the air because they have already started giving us the fruits. They have already started becoming active and they are giving us the fruit in this life. So these are the prarabdha karma. When we say ye prarabdha hamara abhi hua hai, so that is the previous purushartha of the previous karma, which now comes as a prarabdha because those karma phala have become ripe now. Kriyamana karma is the current karma, that is the currently that we are doing, and it's like a arrow which is on the bow. And here we have to be aware because we have to do it in the best possible way so that we don't create more karma phala, and do it in the best possible way like a karma yoga, so that it will help us to get cleansing of the antakarana. And agami karma is karma or kriya or activities done by the wise people after they obtain the Atma Gnana. So Purushartha is much more important than Prarabdha according to our scriptures, because it is the Purushartha that creates our future Prarabdha. And the current Prarabdha is the Purushartha of yesterday or the life previous or some many lives before. So all these accumulates in us, and this is how this chakra goes on. And in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself says that Karmana Gahano Gati means that the Gati, the path of karma is very deep. It's very difficult to understand. Even for the wise people, they don't understand what are the karmas, what are the vikarmas, what are the akarmas, what are the karmas worth doing, what are those which are not worth doing, and what are the ones which we have to avoid. So all these it is very difficult to understand. And karma, in our Shastriya Parampara, when we say karma, it is not just the physical karma, but even apart from kaik, the vachik and the manasik. Vachik means verbal, words. They are also karma. If we speak something bad about others or we insult somebody, that is also like a violence. And even a thought, a bad thought or a bad thought for somebody is also a bad karma. So this we have to be very, very aware. And we should do all our karmas like we are doing yagna, like sacrifice, by giving the ahuti or the offering into the Agni. And we have to give smaller gains for the larger good, for the mankind. We have to do more selfless karma, nishkam karma, which then the karma becomes karma yoga, and this helps us to do antakarana shuddhi and reach our goal. So this dukkha, suffering, is an inevitable part of life. It is the two sides of the same coin. Sometimes it is beneficial, it awakens us up and we can go on to the spiritual path. And suffering is the world, that is what Buddha says. And desire for self-realization, who am I, that comes from this dukkha or this suffering. And then I have to become the observer of this suffering or the sufferer, so that I don't get attached to this and I don't feel the suffering or the pain. And we have to develop an attitude of gratitude so that we can transcend all this suffering and the papa, punya, all this first stands for purification, and we have to we should not protect our ignorance. So why should we worship Hanuman? Why not directly go and worship Rama? Because Rama is the Lord, Hanuman is the devotee. It is because Hanuman is the finite who can hold this infinite consciousness of the Rama, Sita ji and Lakshmana in his own heart, mind and in his own self. And that's why this knowledge is the supreme, and we can only reach to this knowledge by having antakarana shuddhi through the through the devotees we can get this, and we have to do our best to know this Atma Jnana in this only life so that we can achieve moksha. So with this we come to the end of the 7th session of our Hanuman Chalisa, and next time we will see the 8th and the last session of Sri Hanuman Chalisa. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Hanuman.